And welcome to Behind the Investigation. I'm Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe with Atlanta News First, and I'm joined now by Harry Samler, the Better Call Harry top consumer investigator in Metro Atlanta and beyond. Harry, it's good to have you.
It's good to be here, Brendan.
Yeah, well, you've got quite the story here. We're talking about something we all hope never happens to us, which is we need a tow truck. But when it does happen, how do you know that they're not taking advantage of you? Set this up before we watch the story.
All right, so you have a woman who's on her way to work, and she's on the downtown connector, and she has a crash with three other cars. One car hits one car, another car hits the other car, and so they're all sitting on the side of the road, and they're just kind of waiting. And State Patrol shows up, but also a wrecker shows up. There were actually two wreckers that showed up. The problem is that nobody called this particular wrecker. Either of them, police have confirmed, and she ended up with an enormous towing bill.
Well, let's see how big it was. Let's take a look.
Are you all right?
Trooper Emilio Pedrosa is checking on one of three drivers who crashed on the downtown connector. In a few hours, one of the drivers will receive this towing company's invoice for $7,895, causing Erica Thomas's head to explode.
Tow service was for $1,750. The dock fee is $995. The cleanup, that's $2,500.
Erica says the driver was nice. He even gave her a ride.
He was really nice. Also, like, flirtatious, kind of.
Hey, if you want to go ahead and start loading up that gear.
Thomas says this is the guy that towed her. We blurred his face because we're not exactly sure who he is. But we know she didn't call him, and the trooper didn't call him.
He points to his walkie-talkie on his chest, and he says, do you see this thing right here? This thing is monitored through all accidents. We get calls, we monitor it, everyone is aware of it.
He was listening to the scanner.
Yeah.
The police report shows the car was towed by Pro Auto Towing. But Erica says the driver who towed her was with Jay's Towing LLC. Here's the Facebook page. Jay's Towing is registered to James Collins. Here's his mugshot from a Chatham County probation violation in 2007. We're looking for Mr. Collins. Sir? We did not find Mr. Collins, but we found Pro Auto Towing and we found Erica's Kia. In this email, Georgia State Patrol's Motor Carrier Compliance Division says both owners have a business relationship but are operating illegally and issued a cease and desist. She showed me your request, $2,500 for cleanup. A couple hours later, we got an anonymous call that if we came back, there would be consequences. Georgia State Patrol says the only wreckers that should be showing up at accident scenes are the ones victims call themselves or the ones on the state's approved towing list.
When it's someone that just pulls up on a scene, you don't know anything about them. The trooper doesn't know anything about them. They just have a record.
Here's Georgia State Patrol's approved list for Metro Atlanta. If you're in a wreck, law enforcement will be happy to call them for you. And as an approved wrecker, they are limited on how much they can charge. Certainly not $7,895.
I just want to kind of give you a little disclaimer like that.
Here's the thing. Trooper Pedrosa warned all three drivers.
These are not state-approved tow trucks. These are not guys recall.
Erica was so shaken up, she didn't remember.
I'm a good person. I just don't think this should have happened to me, to be honest.
Last week, we went back to that tow yard. Erica's car was gone, and the place was empty. Georgia State Patrol says if either company starts a new towing business without the proper licensing, they'll get a surprise bill, and it won't be cheap.
Harry, a stunning piece there, especially the stunning part with the bill. Was there something that we needed to make sure we added at the end of this story?
Well, we want to make sure that people know that if you're an illegal towing company and you're not on the state's approved list, this is the Motor Carrier Compliance Division under Georgia's Department of Public Safety, that's also Georgia State Patrol. They're facing up to a $15,000 fine. On top of that, they could be looking at criminal charges if they try and form a new company. And here's the thing. She didn't pay the bill, by the way. She knew enough not to pay this bill, and the insurance company ended up totaling the car. You just can't go out and do this. We found out that they did try and start another towing company, actually, and we forwarded that information on to police. Here's the thing. Their new address, Brendan, is a UPS P.O. box.
Wow. So no physical location and changing the name of the company. I mean, well, here's the thing. They only have to succeed, 1 out of 5 times and actually get paid, right? I mean, if you're charging that amount of money, then you don't have to hit the jackpot every time.
Right, and the customer, the driver involved generally is not going to pay this bill anyway because they're going to hand it over to the insurance company. The question is whether or not the insurance company is going to pay the bill. And in this particular case, we reached out to the company. They wouldn't respond. They wouldn't tell us. But I've talked to an industry insider, an attorney who actually works for one of these insurance companies, who said, you would not believe how much insurance companies have paid wrecker services in the past. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm like, 8,000? She's like, oh, way more than that. And I said, what do you mean? Like $100,000. That would be for like a major cleanup. If the insurance company has a problem, they'll go ahead and pay the bill, and then they'll file a lawsuit.
$2,500 for cleanup is not reasonable under anyone's assessment, right?
No, I mean all of this. The tow service fee, $1,750. There was a cleanup fee for the $2,500. Then there was just like this general services fee for another $2,500.
Yeah, it's the because we can fee is what they call it in other industries.
The cheapest fee on there, Brendan, was the storage fee for $150, and that was for basically 3 hours of storage initially from the time that they sent the bill. So yeah, $7,895, when towing companies should only be charging about $3 per mile is the average. They're going to charge you a hookup fee, which is generally around $125, and then $3 per mile. So if you don't get that up front in writing, or you don't get them to tell you how much it's going to be, don't use that wrecker.
Yeah, it's interesting. Look, even though I do this for a living, I'm an investigative reporter, I've been a journalist for 33 years, my family was just in a crash in November, and the police officer on the scene, it was a different agency, said, I said, did you call a wrecker? He goes, no, you call the wrecker, pick whoever you want. Well, I basically got any wrecker that could come. I made the mistake of not negotiating the price in advance. I didn't have any kind of estimate of what it was going to cost for them to take it to their tow yard. It turned out to be a reputable company, and they charged our insurer a fair amount. But those fees can add up. In fact, the insurer even asked if we could park the car in my driveway because those storage fees can add up. Here's the thing about insurance paying, though. We talk about whether insurance companies pay the bill or not. Where do insurers get their money? They get it from the ratepayers, which means they've got to pass it on. I mean, these kind of things can essentially raise our rates if they're paying this kind of outrageous towing bill, right?
Yep, absolutely, which is why you want to ask first. And also, if it's not an approved towing company, or if it's not licensed in the state of Georgia, it has to be licensed through the state's motor carrier compliance division. How do you find out? Well, you're not. Your best bet is if you're on the scene and police are on scene, ask them. They've got the list, and I've got the list right here. It's not that long. It's basically, let's see, Willard, Futos, ATO, B&L, S&W, South Metro, New Image, Barrow Wrecker Service, Crane Wrecker, Kennesaw Wrecker Service. I mean, that's what is that, 10 for the entire metro Atlanta area? Those are approved wreckers, which means their drivers are criminally background checked.
Those are on the state list. I mean, there might be other ones you can call, but those are the ones that are approved. And the trooper tried to help on the scene. He's like, it's sort of like, well, you can go with them if you want. But, the thing is, if someone's pulling up, as you mentioned, they hear it over the scanner, they're basically out there looking for these opportunities. And if you've just been in a wreck, you're not really in the best state of mind to make that kind of decision, right?
Yeah, we were actually talking to a tow truck wrecker, the owner of a company. He's actually not on the list, but he's DOT approved. He's licensed with the state. He's just not on that official list. And he was saying what he deals with every time he gets to one of these scenes, which is people are panicked. I mean, they've been in a wreck or they're broken down. You're sitting on the downtown connector or 285 or 75 or wherever, and you're like, you don't know what to do. So you see a tow truck right there, and even if the officer says, you know, this is not our list, and then the driver says, oh, we take insurance, you're liable to do that just to get out of there.
Right, and you sign that piece of paper. You know, the other thing is who at the side of the road, a lot of times you're signing a piece of paper and you don't have time to read it. I mean, so what's your best advice? And again, we hope we never need a wrecker, but if we do need a wrecker, especially in an emergency situation, what do we do?
I would start by asking law enforcement. That would be my first question. Who's on your list? Who can you recommend? And they have the list. Or if you're in a place and you're safe, make the phone call to your insurance company and say, who do I use?
Okay.
Who do you recommend? Other people have talked about using AAA. Why didn't she call AAA? Does she have AAA? Well, AAA is great if your car's broken down and you've got time to wait. I mean, sometimes they're very quick, and sometimes it could take a couple of hours. You're not going to sit on the downtown connector for 2 hours, and the trooper's not going to sit there with you. So you want to find a company that can get you out of that situation quickly.
Yeah, all good advice. And then the other thing is, I imagine this is ancillary, but make sure you get that accident or police report so you can file a claim with your insurance, right?
Oh yeah, that's critical. What's interesting is that on that police report, it was a different towing company than the one that towed her. So that kind of connected the two, and we were able to connect these two businesses, which tried to start up another business under a P.O. box. They should not be doing that, and you should just ask lots of questions.
So the first advice is better call the right towing company, and then if you don't, better call Harry.
That is correct. Right. Better call Harry Towing.
That's right.
LLC.
Thanks so much, Harry Samler, for a great investigation and some good advice. You've been watching Behind the Investigation. I'm Chief Investigator Brendan Keith.